All right, we're going to talk to Luke. Hi, Luke. You're on the Atheist Experience. What would you like to talk about today?
Awesome. Actually, I wanted to start off with Matt real quick. I'm actually an 18-year-old. I used to listen to Matt all the time. I grew up in a very religious family. I actually used to show my mom, my dad, Atheist Experience videos. I believe that religion is a very powerful weapon. It manipulates emotions such as fear and guilt. Fear because people are individualized to their own identity, and they fear what's going to happen after death because they're so individualized. And guilt because it keeps them in a community that they're constricted to be in. So I understand the power of religion more than anything. But I believe that science can be significantly manipulated. I believe that we all came from the same origin and that we would be coexisting with nature in an incredibly peaceful way. I believe there wouldn't be racism or any of these concepts that exist if it wasn't for a system that has continued to project it. I believe that nature has been manipulated in every way through society, and I believe I have a lot of evidence to back that up.
So I'm not sure I'm following what you're
Thank you,
attempting
because
to.
I genuinely have no idea what your point is. Science.
My point is that
hang on. Science is a methodology, and when it's when the methodology is used, or the methodologies are used correctly, there's nothing to be manipulated. The findings of science and the reportings of people can certainly be manipulated. And some of them can be used to bolster ideas of racism, but I don't think you needed science or scientific finding to have something like racism. All you needed was the xenophobic nature of humans generally, that we fear the unknown, we fear that which is different. It didn't take science to start drawing lines to say, hey, here's my in group and here's my out group. So I don't know.
So you don't believe that racism is projected at all from an external system? You don't believe that people would just be connected if there was an ideology that constrict us? I mean, a religious person, an atheist person argues because they both have been brought up in different forms of socialization.
No, sir. No, sir. I was not brought up as an atheist. You cannot do this. Theists and atheists were both brought up that way.
You were brought up in a religion.
Literally what you just said.
I have. You were brought up in Christianity specifically, and I understand that because I watched your show a lot, like I said. And you saw how horrible it was. You saw the control it had over people.
No.
Identity.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Luke, but that's not the case. I did not see how horrible it was clearly until I was already out. What I saw that got me out was that it didn't have evidence for its positions.
Yeah, same for me.
People in categorizations. So I want to bring up something else. So
I'm not sure you're listening to anything we say. You seem to just be waiting for your turn to spew stuff again. When you suggested that I think there would be racism, even like, are you suggesting, just so I'm clear, that there wouldn't be racism if there weren't science?
Fuels the 99%. There's always been this 1% that's controlled the 99%. People have all these. You have the Republicans, you have liberals, you have Democrats.
Are you answering my question? Are you answering my question?
I don't believe there'd be racism if you're naturally in nature. I don't believe there'd be racism if it wasn't projected onto young children at a young age.
So you don't think? So you don't think that tribes in ancient times came across other people who were different from them, and that they were naturally wary? You don't think that that was a natural thing?
No. I think that.
Okay, well, you are now in conflict with everything that I understand about sociological evaluations of the past, but I'm not an expert. So now we're at a spot where you think that this has to be taught. And I have no idea whether it needs to be taught or not. But of the two that we're comparing here, science and religion, which one do you think has contributed more to xenophobia and racism? Religions, which almost all of them make in-group, out-group comparisons, or science, which doesn't make evaluations of people?
I think science has been manipulated. Again, can I bring up another point and go back to that, though? I wasn't really able to.
Could you answer my question? Could you answer my question?
Yeah, let's stay on this one for a sec, Luke.
I think religion throughout generations has controlled people. I think it's always kept people in their categories. I think
that's not what I asked. Luke, you're not listening. Luke, you're not listening. I'll ask the question again. Which do you think has contributed more to xenophobic views and racism, religion or science?
Religion. I already
Okay.
said that, though.
Okay. In what ways do you think science has contributed to xenophobia and racism?
I think that science the science is something that just got brought up in society now. I mean, atheism and science has just gotten developed in the last 100 years. Before that, it had
Hey, stop. So first of all, atheism and science did not just begin 100 years ago. You need to go study history. Atheist, by the way, is what the ancient Greeks called Christians. But the notion of disbelief has been around for ages, and science is way older than 100 years, including the modern methods of science. And so I don't mean to disparage you in any way, Luke, but
I'm saying when it was brought in as a norm. As a norm. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. I just want to rephrase that. As more of a norm.
As a norm, that
Just
means
more
nothing to me.
pivotal.
Shannon, I don't know.
So, Luke, I think it seems like you're saying that it's more prevalent in society now or accessible publicly. Is that okay?
It's transpired and being more of a norm now than before. Yes.
Okay, I don't think
Okay,
that
you're not-
translates to it being
Well-
the cause of racism.
Does he
So-
not think racism existed 1,000 years ago?
Taking one topic, you're not allowing me. You don't understand what I'm trying to say. I'm saying society.
Because you're so fucking wrong on one topic and you're not listening that we can't move on to the next one. I'm happy to move on to
He's
I'll
quite
move on to
young.
another topic if you answer me this. Do you think that racism existed 2,000 years ago?
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
And if science is new, your argument blaming science for it is clearly flawed by your own admission.
I'm not blaming
What
science.
other topic would you like?
Yeah, we have just a little bit more time before we
Okay.
have to take at least one more call before we're done, Luke.
So 22 million children on psychiatric medications. What causes depression in society? Fast food.
Okay, I'm gonna tag in for a sec, Luke.
Yeah, go ahead. I got nothing.
I'm gonna tag in on this, Luke. So depression has myriad causes. If you're gonna say that some sort of psychotropic medications are overprescribed, you and I are probably going to be on the same page there, because I think that there are many instances in which they are overprescribed. But that doesn't mean that there aren't many instances where they are just desperately needed as well as part of a comprehensive health. The best way to approach it, I think, is it seems as though you maybe are really, really kind of going down some rabbit holes that you're very, very excited about, and maybe drawing some multiple connections where maybe connections aren't there. So are you?
Yeah, I know
are
what you're
you?
trying to say. I don't think that's true.
Okay.
One
So are you?
medication that doesn't have long-lasting negative effects on the original mental health condition. One psychiatric medication, I'd be happy to hear. Does antidepressants help long-term? No. Do amphetamines given to 3-year-old children help long-term? No.
Okay, Luke, once this is a really important subject, and I don't want any misinformation to go out. So if you're asking for which medication it is beneficial long term, I would argue that people who have schizophrenia that need to take antipsychotic drugs in order to maintain stasis would be probably a good example. People who have chronic depression may need to be on it long term. But ultimately, the goal, if you're having comprehensive healthcare, is that the drugs themselves may not be needed long term, because as part of comprehensive healthcare, you're also going to have a mental health professional that can guide you through therapeutic processes like some forms of cognitive behavioral therapy and other behavior augmentation therapies that can kind of retrain and rewire your brain so that those chemical deficiencies can no longer be present. That's not the medical model that's accepted. The medical model that's accepted and pushed by anybody who's worth their salt is one that is a comprehensive physiological, mental, and possibly medication inclusive mental health model.
I have questions.
Okay, so I had a friend. He was put on psychiatric medication, and it destroyed him. It was horrible. It had a completely adverse effect on him. He tried to
It
take
was
it one time.
probably the wrong medication for him, and he probably should have been taken off of it if his doctor was monitoring him appropriately. So if your argument is that means that any psychotropic medications or any pharmacological agents are thus unilaterally bad. It doesn't follow from that.
Yeah.
What I would agree with you on is that we need to have better and more comprehensive mental health models and better understanding of them,
Yes, but
and better public education.
Psychedelics are Schedule 1. Psychedelics are literally notarized worse
Luke, stop.
than.
Luke, I have genuine questions, and I would love to know what the fuck your point is, because this isn't the big pharma medication experience. So let's try and answer these really briefly. Do the drugs that have been prescribed to people for various mental health issues help some people?
No. Absolutely.
Well, now you're just full of shit, and we don't have to.
Luke,
No, you're completely full of shit.
Luke, I'm gonna let you
You're
go.
denying that the drugs help anybody, which is demonstrably false, even with just the two of us sitting here.
Okay, Luke, I'm going to let you go because we're flying kind of off the rails in this conversation, and I appreciate you calling to have the conversation. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
I'm confused.
He's
I understand if somebody wants to
He's
say,
eight-
I think
he's
drugs are
quite young.
overprescribed. It's what?
He's quite young, and
I hate
he's
that.
very excited.
I hate, no. I don't like.
You don't know what I was about to say, though. What do you hate? What do you hate? What did you
His age
assume
is
I was
irrelevant.
when it comes to acquiring knowledge bases? I don't think that it necessarily is.
It is dismissive. There are plenty of 18-year-olds who may well know a lot about this, and may well know more than
Could be
either of
kids.
us. Maybe not more than you, but the age isn't the relevant part. I don't want to have somebody be like, oh, I was 18 and I called in and they dismissed me just because I was young.
No, that's fair. That's a valid point. That's not what I was
Yeah.
attempting to say, I don't think. But I was going to say that, he's quite young and is very excited about this topic. And so, like, sometimes within that age group, when you're exploring things, you can become very, very invested.
Yeah.
Um,
The tone and the
and-
eagerness about it,
yeah.
though, it made me feel like he thinks we're sitting here pushing depression meds, which has nothing to do with the show.
Yeah.
I don't give medical advice.
Me either, because neither of us are clinicians. All right.